Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on where you are. Welcome to today's class. My name is Celia Alves, and I am here to help you improve your productivity in Excel. If you are able to eliminate the time you spend doing manual and repetitive tasks in Excel, you can use that time for other purposes, to think about better solutions, to think about how you can improve the next step in your Excel spreadsheets, for example. And so in here, our focus is on saving that time, learning how to save that time. We are focusing on learning how to automate repetitive tasks in Excel, so that every time we need to run that same task again, we can do it like that without having to do the manual work again. So yesterday we built a timesheet report, and we will talk about that in just a minute. I hope you can hear me well. So if you could please just give me a sign on the comments, either on YouTube or Facebook, I would really appreciate that. Hi, Claudia. Nice to see you today. Claudia has been following us for a while, and today she sent me a picture of her timesheet that she built after yesterday's class, and it was looking amazing, because Claudia is also an expert on Excel dashboards, so she has that touch to tweak design and make it look even better than it was. So thank you, Claudia, for being with us, and I hope today's class will help adding more to that work that we did yesterday. So let me start by sharing my screen. Let me bring my cheat sheet here to the side. If you see me looking like that to the side, it means that I am looking to my notes or your comments. Okay. In the meantime, remember to subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed yet, if you think the content is valuable to you. Remember to share this with your colleagues, with your friends, your family, anyone who needs to work with Excel. I am sure that there will be valuable content either here in the live classes that are longer videos, but I also have some short videos that are published throughout the week. Check on those. There are always very quick tips that you can help you learn other things that maybe you don't know yet. Remember to share, remember to put a like, because that helps me understanding if the content is valuable or not to you. If you don't like, then put a dislike. That's how it works. And if you can leave me some comments after the end of the class, or even today during the live class, and tell me if the content is valuable, if you have any questions, any suggestions, either for this topic or another topic for another class. I would be glad to receive those comments and come back. I will come back to you as soon as I can. Okay, I really want to bring value to you and help you learn with what I know today about Excel. We are constantly learning, right? Let me just put my, while people are still joining us, let me put my Telegram channel address in the comments. It's free to join, and if you join the channel, you will be able to download the files, not acquire, they are free, to download the files that I have made available for each one of the live classes. Sometimes we have exercise files that we can use. Today I have not put there anything yet, but I will probably make the VBA code available there if you want. So, the advantage of being in Telegram instead of WhatsApp, for example, is that other members will not see your contact information. So it's totally safe. It's a one direction only type of communication. So I can send you notes and files and comments, but you cannot reply back to me on that channel. So it's just a way for me, an easy way for me to facilitate you the files and other comments, insights, and so forth. Okay, so let me going to turn my screen there a little bit, and we will be, I'm going to share my screen, and I'll be right there with you in just a second. So we have, let's delete this one. Yesterday, we built a timesheet template. Let me show you that. This is how the timesheet template was looking out. It's coming up in just a second. And where is it? Maybe I need to double click again. It didn't open. If you have trouble seeing what I am, something is not working correctly. Let me see what's going on. Why is this not opening? Because I'm opening the wrong file. This is the one I want to open. Okay, there it is. If you have trouble with the Zoom or so the size of the fonts at the screen, let me know. And if you are enjoying the class, let me know in the comments so that I understand if I can tell that the content is arriving to you and then that it's being valuable to you. Okay, so yesterday, this was the file that we built. It's a timesheet template. It's a timesheet it's a template to receive, to collect information about the hours that an employee does, works during a certain pay period. In this case, the pay period is from the 1st to the 15th of the month, and then from the 16th at the end of the month. The end of the month varies depending on the month. So April, for example, has 30 days, goes up to this column. And then if we choose May 2nd pay period, we have an extra column there. And you see that also the column colors are changing every time we select a different pay period. And this timesheet is perpetual in the sense that once it's done, it's always valid. You just need to, when you get to the end of the year, you just need to come here and choose another year, 2022, and all the dates will be updated, the days of the week, etc., according to the dates to the pay period that you choose here. Okay. We also saw that we have a second sheet that you cannot see now, because if you come here to review, we see that the workbook is protected. Let me pin this here. The workbook is protected, so if the user tries to unhide the other sheets, it's not possible unless they enter the password. In this case, I didn't even put a password, so I just need to do this. And now I will be able to unhide the other sheets. It's just another sheet that is available in this workbook. And we will use this sheet in just a second for our next step. This is the sheet where we set up a couple of formulas. It's protected, so if I go and protect, we can see the formulas here. If you are curious about how we determine the start and the end date and the pay date, depending on the pay period number and the month, just go to yesterday's class that will be available until at least the end of the weekend on Sunday, and see how we built all this. Okay, it was a very detailed class yesterday explaining how to build this timesheet. Okay, so now that this is done, we want to think about the next step. And the next step, when I say that, I'm thinking about in a situation where this timesheet is distributed by the employees and we are collecting their hours every pay period, we want to find a way to easily combine that information. We will be doing an example today and tomorrow, especially tomorrow, where we will be taking care of the portion of importing the data. We will use a couple of spreadsheets that are pre-filled with some hours. And imagine the manager or the supervisor of a group of people receiving multiple files like this. And let me put up the file again. Receiving multiple files like this and having to go through the totals. So every time someone collects some information, enters some information here, the totals will update and most likely, so the manager or the supervisor will be interested in reviewing the timesheet first and see if everything is correct. And once the timesheet is correct, is reviewed and it's deemed correct, then we want to put them all in a folder, one separate folder for each pay period, and be able to summarize, to gather all the information and then summarize it for the purpose that we need. And that will depend on what happens next. So for example, the company or the manager, the person may just need to calculate how much to pay to the employee, to each employee after the pay period. Another situation could be, oh, I need to prepare a file, most likely a CSV file with information prepared in a certain way that then can be fed into the accounting program to upload or to post all the payments for the payroll at once. So there are different situations. We will do an example tomorrow of one of those situations. Okay, so but before that, remember I was saying, okay, so maybe we want to put everything in a folder and then be able to import the information from that folder. We need to be careful about how those folders are generated, or at least how they are named. If we want to have a smooth process of importing the data, then those folders need to be created very carefully on a consistent way, so that then we can explain Excel where to find information, and since it is built in a consistent way, everything will work well. And that's what we will be doing today. Okay, so let's minimize this for now. What we will do is we will start a file from scratch. Okay, let's see. Let me see if we have any other people here in comments. Hi, Nuno, nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. Okay, and there's my name there, written with an accent because on top of the E, because it's my name in Portuguese. It's Celia instead of Celia. But I always present myself as Celia when I'm speaking in English, because it makes it easier for everyone to remember how to, and the name Celia in English does exist. Okay, so let's see. Let's start with a new file. So I am in this folder here, lesson 18. It's today's lesson, and I already have the timesheet template here that we created yesterday, and this is the file that we will be building. But this is the final version. I don't need to show you just yet. So we will create one new. And so let's do that. I'm going to just create a new Excel file. In fact, and I'm going to call it timesheets tool. Okay, it could be any other name you'd like. Let's open that. In fact, I could have opened Excel first and created the file from there, because since we will be creating macros, we will need to save this file as XLSM instead of XLSX. XLSM instead of SLXS. Well, never mind. You know what I mean. So let's see. And I'm going to do just that now. So save as, although I haven't created any marker yet. Choose enable, going to zoom here. In Excel macro enabled workbook, choose this version and let's do save. Okay. And I'm going to the folder and I'll delete the other one to avoid confusion. Okay, so we have a blank timesheet here. And the first thing I will do is I will copy the sheet that we have in the timesheet template, this list sheet. I will need this for my tool. And in this case, we have several columns. We won't need all the columns. We will see that in just a minute. In fact, I will just need the pay period and the pay period number and month. I will not need the dates, at least for the process that I imagine that I will be teaching you today. So what we will do is from the timesheet template file that we built yesterday, in the lists sheet, right click and do move or copy. And I want to move it to the other workbook that it's called Timesheets tool. So you need to select the other workbook from here. So to book, Timesheets tool. And before sheet one or maybe move to the end, just better, create a copy. I don't want to move the sheet. I want to copy it to there. Okay. So that's it. We are now in the timesheets tool file and we have the lists sheet there. Okay, and we still have sheet one that is still totally blank. We have all the formulas that came here, and we have it's funny that the dates are coming in because we don't have the field year. So I wonder, it's still probably reading from, yes. So why are these formulas working? Because it's this formula here to determine the start date, as we saw yesterday. It's using the cell named year that we built yesterday. Where is that cell? That cell is in the other workbook. We don't have a cell year here. If we go to the home and then formulas and name manager, we see that when we copied, and this is something that we need to be careful about, every time we copy one sheet to, or even sometimes just copying a range of cells, we may bring the names that were on the other spreadsheet, on the other file into workbook into this one. There's a couple of them that we don't need. I don't need the pay group, at least I don't need the pay group, so I'm going to select that field, that name, and delete. Okay, and before deleting it, let me show you. You see here where it says refers to, it's referring to the other file. This is the name of the other file. Okay, so I don't need the pay group. Okay, I also don't need the pay period end and start dates. I have these names created on the other file. I don't need those, so I can delete them. Okay, it's referring to the other file and we don't need that. We don't need this file linked to the other one through names or formulas. And the year, it's pointing to the other file. And in the other file, I still have it open. If we check the other file, let me close here. If we check the other file, the timesheet template, here in the year we have 2021. So if I change this 2022, so if I change to 2021 and now I go back, we will see this changing to 2021, and the pay date already it's giving us errors because it was referring to a name that I deleted from the file, from the list of names in our file. Anyways, we don't need these columns, start, end, and pay date. I'm not going to need this in this tool, so I just Control minus to delete that. Oh, sorry. Before that, let's do Control Z, because I want to keep the pay period names. Note that the pay period names, they don't depend on the start and ending date, the way I'm displaying them, okay? They do depend. They are, sorry, if we see the formula, they are referring to the start and end date of the pay period, but there's nothing in the pay period expression, the way it's being displayed, because we chose a certain text. And again, for those of you who didn't watch yesterday's class, this may be a bit confusing, so it's best to review that class. There's nothing here that indicates the starting date or the year or anything. So I can select all these cells, right click, copy, and then right click, paste as values. Choose this icon that says 1, 2, 3. And these columns J to K, JK and L, I don't need them. So Control minus will eliminate those columns. And now the formula, the names didn't disappear. I mean, the pay period names remained because they don't depend on the formulas anymore. We copied values on top of the formulas. So now these are hard-coded values there, okay? We just need these 3 columns to create the tool that we need today to create our folder structure. Okay, so going back here to formulas and name manager, let's see what else we have here that we can eliminate. List of pay codes, it's there, it's that list, so we can probably use it later. List of pay periods, if I select here, if I click here, it will put this dashed line around the range it's referring to, so I can see it's correct, and I will need that, so let's leave it there. Next pay, and it was a name that we created on the previous file that we won't need here, and it's giving us an error already, so let's delete this name. We don't need that. The table pay codes is this table here, and we cannot even edit it because this name is created automatically when we create the table and give a name to the table. And table pay periods, it's the other table here, and the name, it's still referring to the other file. The name year is still referring to the other file. I will need, let me show you what we are trying to build here. I'm going to show you the final file. Let me close, because otherwise it doesn't let me switch to another Excel file. We are trying to build something like this today. We will need a field for the year, a field for the main folder for the timesheets, and then a field for the pay period. This will be used for the next class, and then this final field. For now, let's create this, and this is a button to run the macro that we will create today. Okay, so anywhere in your timesheet, on your spreadsheet, I mean, let's type here year, okay? And let's put a field. I'm going to fill it in light blue. As I explained yesterday, usually is the color that I use to indicate the fields where the user can type. So let's name this, let's point that name year to this cell. Let's go to formulas, name manager, and where it says year, let's edit this name. And let's delete this. You see that when I type here, it moves to the other file. I don't want it to refer to this other file that I have open. I want it to refer to here. Okay, sheet 1, D4. Okay, that's correct. That's what I want my cell year to be in this file. Okay, And you see the year name appeared here in this selected cell. I'm going to, what's going on? Oh, the names file, names manager is open on the other screen. I need to close it now. I don't have any other errors. Everything is referring to something in this workbook, not the other one. So it looks good. We can close. Okay, I'm going to save. And I'm going to give this sheet the name start. It's just another convention I have. Usually when I'm building a solution to someone else, it's common for me to name the sheet start to indicate, to tell the user where to start. It's just something that I do usually. It doesn't have to be always like that. Okay, so we have, let me maybe put this bigger. Let me check if I have any comments or questions. Not just yet. Okay, so let's continue. If you have any questions or any challenges there, let me know. If you like something, let me know too, so that I know that it's being useful for you. Don't let me feel here like I'm speaking to my walls only, okay? Okay, so we copied that sheet lists. We created the sheet start. We created a field for the year, a cell for the year, and we named it year. Let's name time. Let's create another field here to indicate where we will be putting our saving our timesheet files. I'm going to name this field timesheet main folder, timesheets main folder. And the reason why I'm calling this main folder is because I will have subfolders inside this main folder for each one of the pay periods. So, okay, bold and align to the right. And now I'm going to put the field in here. I'm even going to enlarge this cell. It's in blue as well. I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to name it timesheet main folder. Timesheet main. No spaces, okay? Because named ranges cannot have spaces. Timesheet main folder. Okay, there. And so we have these two folders, fields created. In this cell here, I'm going to ask the user to put the path to this folder here. So wherever the user wants to save the timesheets, it doesn't matter if it is the same folder where we have our tool or not, can be anywhere. Create an empty folder named timesheets. Okay, let's double click there. This folder is empty. I'm going to select there in my file explorer, press Ctrl+C to copy, escape, and then in here double click in the cell and then Ctrl+V. So I'm putting the path to my folder where I'm going to save the timesheets. Okay, but now what I want is to, let me maybe demonstrate, on the other, let me see. Yeah, let me see if I can demonstrate this with the file that is finalized. Let me save this file. Let me see if that will work. So this is the file that we are trying to build. It has the same path in here, okay? Let's bring File Explorer to here. And I'm going to run the macro that is already ready, but we are going to rebuild it here to show you what we are trying to accomplish. So let's say I want to prepare a folder structure for the year 2021. I want here to appear a folder for 2021, and inside that folder, one folder for each different pay period. And we have 24 pay periods, okay? So this is what, let's see if the macro works. Click the button. Oh, I have a stop here, so let me take that out and F5. Okay, folder structure for 2021 was created successfully. Okay, let me minimize this. And you see here, the year 2021, the folder for year 2021 was created. And not only that, but also at the end, File Explorer opened for me inside that folder 2021, and it's showing me all the folders created, all the subfolders created in there. They have a name format a little bit different than what we have here, and we will see how I decided to choose that name format. So it has 2021-1, 2021-1 for January, and then the two different pay periods in January, and similar structure for all the other months. I'm going to close this. So this is what we will be building today, how to create that macro that just creates all these folders for us in a second or even less. Okay, so I'm going to delete the folder now that you saw what we are going to create. Let me know if you are excited about this or not. Let me know. Do you want to know? Do you want to learn how to do this? Do you already know how to learn how to do this? Then great. I hope you can help me then if any problem shows up. Put me there in the comments. I want to learn, or I already know it. How to build in VBA the folder structure for the entire year. Let me know there. I want to know. I'm waiting. I need to wait a couple of seconds because I know there's a delay since I speak until you are able to hear and type. Okay, so while I wait, I'm going to explain how we can access the macros editor, the VBA editor. Claudia says, I want to learn. Okay, great. Thank you, Claudia. At least I have one student who wants to learn that today. That's great. Okay, so developer. If you don't have the developer tab, then what you can do is go to File and then Options here. And then in the Customize ribbon, make sure that you have a check mark here where it says developer. Okay, that just put the check mark there and click OK. I already have it there, so I don't need to do that. I'm going to do cancel instead of OK, and you will get this tab here. Then you can do Visual Basic. Click this button, and you won't get this because your file won't have any macros. Here we will see all the files that have macros that are open or that are somehow on the background being utilized, like some of the add-ins that I have installed on my computer. Okay, but we are working in this file, Timesheet Tools. That's the one we want to look at, and we don't have any modules. So you see here, this one has a module. That one doesn't have any modules. And if we click through the different sheets and this workbook module here, we don't see any macros there, any code. Okay, so we are going to do is insert module. We can give a name to the module. If you don't get this appearing here at the bottom, you can go to View and then Properties window, or type F4. Okay, so you go F4 to show this window here. And we can give it a name, for example, folders or timesheet folders. just so that we know what's inside. We can give it any name as long as it doesn't have spaces. Probably there's other special characters that cannot go in there, but as long as you don't type any weird thing there, just alphanumeric, it should be good. Okay, I'm not sure if numeric works, at least alpha characters. Okay, so I have this showing option explicit at the top. Maybe you don't get that. If you don't get that, you can type it, option explicit, okay? To get that automatically, we need to go to tools and options, and require variable declaration needs to have a check mark there, okay? And what this does is it will force us to declare all the variables. And that's an important thing to make sure our code is working the way we want it to work. Okay. So let's do a macro here. The macro will start with sub for subroutine, and then we give it a name. Create year folder structure, or any name you want. It doesn't have to be this name, okay? And then enter. You will get this pair of parentheses and end sub immediately added at the bottom. We can make it go down. Okay, so I already have the code ready. I am very bad at typing. You don't want to be seeing me typing because I'm slow and clumsy. So I'll be copying and pasting different pieces of code, and I will explain what that means, okay? The first thing is to declare the variables. We can declare the variables all at the top of the code, the macro, or we can declare as we need them. I'm going to paste them all here, the ones that I created, but the truth is I don't do this from the start. What I do is I imagine, I think of the steps that I need to take to get the automation done. And every time I need to create a new variable, I come here and I do dim to declare the variable, the name of the variable, and then I say what I want that variable to be. In here, all them are strings, meaning text, and there's one that will be declared as a range. It will be a cell or a set of cells, and that's it. All the other ones are strings, okay? I will explain what those variables are when we get there. Okay, so what I want to do is to create that folder structure, and that folder structure will need, first we need to create the folder for the year, right? So we need to grab the year, the folder for the year from this cell. This cell is named year. It's a range named year, and this range is in sheets in sheet start, okay? So that's the first thing I will do, is to read from this cell, and if if the cell is empty, I want to tell the user, well, you need to put something in here. You need to put a number in here. I also need this to have something in there, cannot be empty. So that's what we will get now. Let me copy my text from here. And Nono says he also wants to learn. That's great, Nono, thank you. And with, okay. I'm going to copy different, let's see, and to when I'm going to copy. I'm going to copy all this. Maybe it's too much, but we will go over each piece, okay? So let me bring my code here. Okay. So first thing, let me put this down, and so that we don't get scared with so much code at once. We have our variables there. First thing, you see how I have a single quote there? If I do this, it will become red and say, oh, this is not valid code. Okay. But if I put a single quote there, it means that this line here is a comment. So it's not to be read as a run as a code. It becomes green, and I can type whatever I want there to help me understand what I'm doing. So with sheet start, with this sheet name start, and if we do the code like this, means that the user will not be authorized to change the name of the sheets, because then the code won't work. There's other ways to do this to avoid to address that possibility of that problem, but let's do this simple way today. So with sheets start, that's the name of the sheet. What do we want to do with that sheet? And since I started with, then I will have to have an end with here. Okay, and that's the with here, with is in here. Okay. I want to get a value TS year. It's a variable that I just invented now, and I decided to call it TS year. And this variable will hold a value that is in the range year, the value in there. And when I start this with a dot, means that this continues from here. So sheets start dot range year dot value, whatever is in there, it will be kept under this variable named TS for timesheet year, TS year. The main folder will grab whatever we have in the range timesheets main folder, the value in there. So timesheets main folder is this cell here, timesheet main folder or timesheets. Let's see. Timesheet main folder, so that is correct, is the same as we have there, timesheet main folder. Okay, so this needs to be good. Okay, now we are going to say, let's bring this portion here up. If the value TS year is equal to empty, so if the value in that cell is empty, then end if is year, means that if this happens, all these three lines of code will happen. First, I get a message box saying, please enter a year. VB critical means that the message box will be displaying a red sign. We will see that in just a minute. And then this is the year value. Year value is missing will be the prompt. Let me show you how this works. So if I was typing, I'd go message MSG box, and the minute I do space, it gives me some IntelliSense here to help me. So I need to do the prompt. The prompt is what will show in the message box. Okay, so let's say the year is empty, so I need to say, please enter a year value. Okay, close double quotes, then comma, and then I can add buttons as optional. You see there it has square bracket there, so I can type, and then it gives me options, VB, and then we have critical. That's the option, but I have other options that you can explore. For example, VB information gives me a different icon on the message box. Okay, then tab, okay, enter comma, then the title for the message box. I can put whatever as I want. For example, invalid year or invalid entry, whatever you think it's suitable for you. And then we have other fields. All them are optional, so we don't need to worry about them. We don't need them either. So this is how it works when I am typing that code. But since I already have that code, I don't need to repeat it. I'm going to delete this. Okay. But if I'm going to type everything, I will probably misspell something. some of the commands I may need to adjust them, and so we don't need to go through all that hassle. That's why I chose to just paste the code that I already tested that it's working. Okay, so if the year is empty, I'll display this message box. Then I will activate the start sheet to make sure that the user is brought to that timesheet where the year the year cell is empty, and I'll do exit sub, means exit this code, don't run any of the other rows of the code, any lines of the code that are after this. Okay. Then here I have a similar instruction for when the main folder path, and the main folder path is the value that we extract from the timesheet main folder cell. If that is empty, we do the exact same thing. And then here I ended with the instructions I wanted at this point to execute from the sheet's start. Then I'll say, well, if I reach this point here, means that the year was not empty, the main fold path was not empty, because if any of those were, I would have exited the subroutine. If I get here, what I'll do is, if the main folder value, main folder path, the main folder path is the value that I put in here. If the right portion of that string with one character only, so okay, so if I go to all this string and grab the last character, in this case would be an S. If that is something different than the backslash character, and in this case that would be the case, it would be an S, then make main folder path, that same string here, be the same as main folder path concatenated with the backslash at the end. So what this does is, if we don't have the backslash here at the end, we will replace the variable value with the same thing that we had before, but with a backslash at the end. Okay. And then we will determine the year folder path. The year folder path will be the same thing that we have here, the main folder path that we instructed there to, we got it from here, concatenated with the timesheet year, TS year, and the TS year is this variable that grabbed the year value from that cell. Okay. And then the year folder will use this command dir, so dir, and we say look for a directory that has that folder path, VB directory. So this is just a command you need to use. Okay, and we are stopping here for now. Let's see what this gives us, how this is working. Okay. Not that. I want to put this on the left side. So if I leave year empty and I start running that code there, I can do that by pressing F8, F8, F8. After I run one of the lines, I can go there and I can see that timesheet year is empty. That's the value there. And now F8, after that, I have the value for the timesheet, for the main folder path. And it's all that string that we have on that cell. And then F8, F8, and it says, please enter a year. That's the message here, because the timesheet was empty, then it's executing these lines of code here. So this is the icon for VB critical. That option that I chose here makes this icon appear in the message box. So now I click OK, and it exited the subroutine and activated the sheet that was already activated anyways. So it ended the subroutine. Okay, so let's try place 2021 there. Now if I go F8, F8, F8. If timesheet year is empty, it's not empty. Trying to over there, it's not giving me, oh, there you go, 2021. And you see how it jumped right to here, because if it's not empty, then it's not doing anything with this. And now F8, F8, we get the folder. We don't have the backslash at the end, the folder path. But now let's bring this a little bit there. If we go this, if the right of main folder path string one character is different than that, and that's the case, it's different because the end one character is an S, then make the main folder become what the main folder was concatenated with that. So once we execute that, then we have the backslash at the end, as you can see there. So now we can create a string for the folder path that will be everything we have in the main timesheet folder, backslash, and then the year 2021 at the end. Okay, so now we are ready to look for that folder. This does not do anything, just looks for it, and I didn't tell Excel to do anything with it yet. Okay, so now I'm going to copy all the other, not everything. Let's see, create the folder structure. Okay, we bring this. Let me see if we have any questions there. I enjoyed yesterday and excited about today as well. Sorry to join late. Thank you, Roderick, for joining us. Very happy to see you here, to have you here. Okay, so we are going through the code. I will add the code to my channel on Telegram if you want to grab it later, okay? Or just feel free to follow the video and copy by hand. It will probably be the best way for you to learn. Then instead of just copying and pasting the code, that's definitely the best way to learn, is to create the code yourself, even if it is by looking at other code that it's already done. Okay, so we had stopped here. Okay. So now we are ready to create the folder. And what we do is, if year folder, and year folder is the result of looking for that year folder path, looking for that directory. If that is different than no string, meaning that it exists, if it looks for the directory and it gives something that is not empty, means that the folder exists. If that's the case, then I don't want to create the folder again. Then I'll do message box, the year folder for year, space, close double quotes, concatenate with the value of the year, because I want the message box to say the folder for the year 2021. So it grabs this variable here, is grabbing this value, and concatenate again with this piece of text, already exists, period. Go to year folder created. So I created, this is a label here, year folder created. I can give it any name. And I place the label with colon at the end in the step of the folder to where I want this to jump. I want the subroutine to jump to, in case the subroutine is created. So if the subroutine already, not the subroutine, the subdirectory, the directory, if the folder already exists, then go directly to here, okay? Else, meaning if it does not exist, then use this command, vba.filesystem.mkdir, meaning make the directory, create a directory, and the directory needs to have that year folder path that we have there, okay? That's it. So now if we do this, let's bring, we know that we have year 2021 there. Inside the timesheets folder, we do not have anything yet. So I'm going to put a stop here. F5 executes everything until here, and now I'm going step by step. F8 jumped into there, meaning that the folder was not a null string, was not different than null, so it means it does not exist. F8, F8, there, the folder is there. And of course, nothing inside of it, okay? And so if I do this again, F5, and now I go F8, F8, at this step here, now that the folder already exists, it tells me the folder for year 2021 already exists. Okay. And now jump, goes to the next line of code, go to year folder created, jumps into there, the label, or the label is not a year of, is not a line of code, so it jumps to the very next line of code, and we don't have anything else. This is a comment for the, with a kind of a title for the next session of code that I'm going to bring, and then end subroutine. Okay, ending, the end. Okay, so what's next? Now I want to create a list of subfolders inside the folder 2021. I want to create one folder for each pay period. Okay, how am I going to do that? Maybe let me bring the code first and then I will explain. So this is the code. Let me copy from here. And yeah, and that we are getting, I'm going to copy just what's left of the code. So this is the last portion copied. Not really, then we will have to do a small adjustment, but it's almost the end of the code here. So we were in here. Now, what is this telling us here? It says for each pay period cell, and the pay period cell, it's a name that I created. And if we go up here, pay period cell, I'm saying that this is a range. So it can be a cell or a set of cells. And I'm saying for each pay period cell in sheets, lists, range, list LST underscore pay periods. So there's a name there. And for each cell inside that range, I'm going to execute all these instructions until here, until this one that says next pay period cell. So it grabs one of the cells, does all this, then when it gets here, goes back to there. So this is a loop, right, on VBA. Okay, so let's see, let's remember, lists sheet, we have this table here, and I created a name inside this table that is, if we go to formulas and names manager here, name manager, we have a name here called LST pay periods, this one here, and this is referring to this range. Instead of creating the name, I could, and then putting that name here, LST pay periods, I could say range and then replace LST pay periods by all these. The name of the table, and then in between square brackets, the name of the pay period, and that would also work as long as I put it in between double quotes. Okay, so that would be the name of the range. It's the same thing, both things work. I like to have to work with names, so I use them even sometimes more than I had to use. Okay, so let's close this. Okay, so what this is doing is this line of code. For each cell in this range, which is this range here, so it starts with the first one. The first one says Jan space dash space 1 space 2 space 15. Pay period remember, everything is a string. So pay period is everything except this one here that was a range. All the variables were strings. So pay period will be a string. It's just a variable name that I just invented at this point in the code that will allocate this value, the pay period cell value. What is the pay period? The pay period, what is the pay period cell? The pay period cell is the first cell in this range. So it's this cell. So I grab this cell, I will call pay period to the value of that cell. So it will be this text here that we have, all this text. Okay, that will be the value for this variable. The pay period folder path, so the folder for this pay period and the path for that folder will be the same thing that we had in the year folder path that we already created here. That is the main folder plus the timesheet year value, and then concatenate with backslash, and then concatenate with the pay period. The pay period is this string here. So this will create a folder with a path that is everything that we had already before until we created the year folder, and then backslash and the pay period name. Then the pay period folder is the directory, is when we say look for this path, okay? And it's going to tell us if that path exists or not. If now it's the same reasoning as before. If that returns something empty, then we can create the directory, I mean the folder. If it's something then different than empty, then go to here, because we don't need to create anything. I guess I could have made it a little bit simpler here, and I could have said if this equals to no string, then do this, create. Maybe it would be easier to understand. I don't know why sometimes we just are focused on another direction. So we could have said if this is equal to no string, meaning if the path that does not exist, the folder, then create this. I would put this line of code here. Else go to here, or else do nothing. It could also be else and then just nothing here, and it would move on to the next line of code. Or even simpler, I could have said just if the folder pay period folder equals to no string, then create the folder. Let's do that, and hopefully this will work, because it's so much simpler. I don't know why I created that thing like that. Sometimes just the reasoning is pointed another direction. So if the pay period folder, which is the result of looking for that folder with that path, is a VB no string, is a no string, a string with empty string, then create this. You put a space there, and then we don't need anything else. What if not? If not, then nothing happens. We don't need this here too. Okay. And so once we did that, we created the folder, then we go to the next pay period cell. So now we would go to this cell here, and we would do the same thing. We assign the pay period variable with that string. We generate the new path for the new folder. We check if the folder already exists, and if it does not exist, then it creates it, okay? And it goes looping around and around until we reach the final cell, okay? At the end, we display a message box, folder structure for the timesheet year value was created successfully. So the message is concatenating three pieces of this piece of text concatenated with the value of the timesheet year that we grabbed from the cell, concatenated with this piece of text. And then this little thing here at the end, this command, shell explorer.exe space \e, etc. So this concatenated with the year path. Normal focus means that it will open it and it will be focused, it will be pointed to that window. This opens a Explorer window opened in that folder, just because I think it's useful for the user to, okay, the year structure was created, just take me to there so that I don't have to be looking for it manually. Okay, so let's test this. Let's see if we can accommodate everything in here. Let me bring that there. There. Let me know how you're doing. Are you sleeping already? Is it being too boring, or is it exciting enough? Let me know. No comments so far? Okay, so let's run this. I have, if we click here, it toggles on and off points where we can make the code stop, so that I don't have to be running all the steps one by one. So if I click here and I press this or F5, it runs everything until that point there. The folder for year 2021 already exists. Okay. And then we jumped into there. Does it exist? Yes. So we already have the 2021. Now let's jump inside the folder and see what happens there. Okay. So now I'm going to press F8. F8, pay period, January 1 to 15. Then the pay period folder path is everything that we had already as the until the year folder, plus, and then we cannot see it there. But if you need to check it, one way is to activate the immediate window. You can come to view and immediate window, or Control G to activate that window. And you can, since we already have the value calculated for that variable, we can do Control C and then here interrogation mark or question mark and the variable name, enter. It gives us the value of that variable at this point. So we can check if everything is looking good. It's looking good the way we want. Okay. So now if the pay period folder is empty, F8, the pay period folder is empty. So then it will execute this portion here about, oops, this portion there about here. This portion there about creating the folder for us. So F8, there's the folder. And then next pay period cell goes up again. So now we will grab the next one, which will be January 16 to 31st. That's correct. And then again and again and again. Generates the next step and so forth. Okay. So I'm going to put a stop here and press F5 so that we see all the folders appearing there. There, all the folders. And then we will get the message box just advising us that the folder structure was created successfully. And then this command here will open a window for us. We already had it open because we were checking, but generally we just don't have it open, and it will open a new window for us on the File Explorer there, open directly in the folder that we just created for the year. And that's it. So it's working well, but there's a but here. I want to have your opinion about the way these folders are named. I want to know what you think about these folder names. Do you have any comment about that? I'm going to wait a little bit to see what you have to say about that. Let me point there so that you can see it. What comments do you have about this folder structure? So we have 24 folders there, one for each pay period of the year 2021. Do you have any comment about that? Do you think it's efficient? Or do you think there's some kind of challenge there? And why is it that happens? Thank you, Nono. Nono is saying that I'm a good teacher. Thank you so much. I cannot feature your comment now because I want to keep the Zoom. Not in order. Jan must be first, not April. Exactly, Claudia. That's so. What happens is that we get the names here sorted by alphabetically, right? And it's much easier if we can follow the order of the pay periods throughout the year. So we would want January 1st. So there's different ways we could choose to address that. The way I'm going to do, what I'm going to do is I want to put, besides the string that is the name of the pay period, I'm going to add 2021-01, and I want the 0 so that, because if I don't put the 0, then I will have January and then November, because November is the next one started with 1, and then I will have February. Then I will have the I will have October, the month 10 that starts with 1, and month 11, month 12, and then I will have February. So if I force it to have 2 digits, then I have everything sorted the way I want. So I want the folders to be created like this, something like this. 2021-1 for the month, and then the pay period, and then same thing here, 2021-01 space dash space. I'm not sure if I put space dash space on my programming or if I put underscore, something like that. So you see, now if I put February, F comes after Jan, no, comes before, F comes before J, but if I enter the year and the month first, then it forces the pay periods to be sorted the way I want them to be sorted throughout the year. So I'm going to delete all these folders that we just created. Okay, and let's just amend our code to do what we just did. Okay. So what I will do is I'm going to cut another piece of code from here, from my cheat sheet, and I'm going to place it here. We will see what it says. Okay, I'm creating a new variable called pay period month as a string. I can leave it here. I don't have to put it up there. Some people prefer to leave the declaration of the variables throughout the code when the variable first is used, created and used. I tend to prefer the other way. I have everything on top, but I see some value in having it there throughout the code. Some situations can be useful. For me, I prefer to have everything on the top. Anyways, so I'm going to call pay period month. It's a new variable that I just created, and it's going to be, I'm going to grab the pay period cell, offset 0 rows and 1 column to the left. That's what this means. Grab the value from that cell and format it. This is the same thing as we have as the text formula in Excel. With VBA, we need to say format instead of text, and then put the text format we want to use. This means make it have 2 digits. Okay, so if I need a leading 0, put the 0 before, and then if I only have 1 character, put the 0 first and then the 1 digit after. Okay, so what this is, pay period cell. So for each pay period cell, I'm going to grab what's 1 column to the left and have that as the pay period month. Okay, so let's see here. So the pay period cell is each one of these cells. And I'm going to say, go 1 column to the left. This is the month for that pay period. So I'll have pay period 1 twice. Then I have, for these 2 pay periods, I have pay period 2 twice, and so forth, right? Then 3, 4 for March, April, May, etc. Okay, so and then I will say the pay period folder and the pay period folder path. I'm going to delete these two, or I could just comment them, and if I do this, they won't be executed, but I don't need those there, so I'm going to delete them. Make the pay periods folder path be what we had for the year path plus the timesheet year value, and then all that structure that I mentioned, a dash, then the pay period month, that is those 2 digits that grabbed from this table, then underscore, and then put the pay period description, that string that we have in here, this string here. Okay, and then look for the pay period folder path. Where is it? Pay period. Did I delete it? Pay period, month, pay period full. Okay, so I deleted something that I needed. I need to go back here. I just need to replace that pay period folder path with this one. Okay, and then the pay period folder needs to come here after we define the new name for the pay period folder path. Look for that folder, and if it gives us something empty, meaning that the folder does not exist, then create it. Okay, and that's it, and then we will get to the end. That's it. So let's do this again. Let's put it up there, and I'm just going to run this all at once. I'm going to save the file. I can either save here or there in the VBA editor. It works good, well, the same. Let's bring this here, there, and let's run the macro. Let's debug. We can come here to debug and do compile, see if there are any errors. It didn't get any errors. It doesn't mean that it will work, but at least it didn't find any major errors. So let's do just F5 or click here. The folder for the year 2021 already exists. Okay, the folder structure was created successfully, and here it is, and it should open a new window for us. You see, it opened a new window for us. I'm going to just review this quickly and repeat for 2022. So you see, now we have all the months organized in the chronological order that we need them to be. Okay, another variant of this subroutine would be to create one folder every time, each pay period, one at a time, so that we don't have to look at all the folders. And so if we create one at a time, it's easier because we know we always need to look to the last one to find the timesheets for that last pay period. That's another way of doing. So let's put here 2022. There's other things that we should put in this subroutine that I'm not adding. I should verify that this is a number. I should verify that maybe the number is in between the certain values that I want, that it's a whole number. Other things to make this even better, to avoid someone typing in 2022X or something like that by mistake and have a folder created with that name. So there's always other things that we can introduce to make it even better. But this would do for a starting point. I don't have a File Explorer window open. Now I have it. I'm going to close it so that we can see that the File Explorer window will open. So F5, folder structure for 2022 was created successfully. Okay. And there it is. It opens the window for us with the year there. How do you like it? Very well organized content. Thank you. Yeah, but not in alphabetical order. That says no, that's correct. Okay. So finally, we are getting to the end of our class today. That I thought it would take less time, but because I was so detailed explaining everything, it ended up taking a little bit longer. Now what we will do is to prepare the last few fields for the next class, where we will be using Power Query. Oh, but before that, we need to create a button to run this macro, right? Because the user does not have to know to come here to the window, to the VBA editor. So we could come here to insert, and then we can do two ways. We can come to the developer tab. I'm going to do that way today. Insert, and then a button here. On a previous class, I did it with a shape. Here, I need to say what is the macro that I want to run. Is the year folder structure macro. It was giving me the macro on the other workbook that I have open, but I don't want that one. I want the one I chose. And here I can say year folder structure, okay? Or you can play with the shapes and icons from here, shapes and icons, and create a more better good looking button to run your macro. So if I say 2023, create folder structure, it's done. You see, I think it takes less than a second. And we have the folder for 2023 with all the subfolders there. And we see now that we have already folders for 3 years created here. Okay. So finally, if I show you the other file, that we had, let me see if I can bring it here. Is it this one? So this one, we want to have a folder. So the next class, we will see, okay, we are on a certain pay period, and I want to collect all the timesheets information from the folder of that pay period. So what I'll do for the user to make it easier for the user is to create this drop-down list here, and I will create a field for to give me the path to the pay period folder based on the selection here. So if you see March 1 to 15, and then here it says March 1 to 15, the folder. If we have April, it changes. Okay, so let's see how we can create that very quickly. We can put here a field for the pay period. Since I don't need such a long string, I'm going to maybe do it like this. Type here pay period. And the line to the right, there's a shortcut for that, I'm sure, but I don't know it by heart. Since this is a folder for the user to select something or type in something, I'm going to use the same color code I've been using so far, fill that in light blue. And here I need to create a data validation, a drop-down list. So data validation, I want to create a list, and the source, I could create, I already have a list. I have a name for that. So let me go back. If I press F3, LST pay periods, that's the list for the pay periods. I already have the name, or you could just minimize here and then go to the list sheet and point to the column where we have all the pay period names. Okay. So now from here, the user can select, and we can center this if we want, can select the pay period from here. And now we want to create a formula that gives us the path for that pay period. So we just need to remember how we created the pay period names. So in here, I'll put pay period folder, folder, not folder, folder, and same format. And in here, because this will have a formula, I'll paint this in gray. And the formula will be grab this name, this path, and then add the pay period plus a few things, right? Okay, so let me bring the formula. I'm going to bring the formula here. Okay, so I'm going to build the formula here. So, okay, first thing is I want to bring this. Okay. In fact, I should say if the right of this does not have the backslash, I'm going to eliminate this part in the formula today, but if you want me to do that, I can do that for you. And so I have that, then I want to concatenate that with backslash, and then to be consistent, I should do that verification, because if the user puts a backslash there, it will give us an error, right? A path with 2 backslashes in a row won't work. So the year name, okay. So now I already have this. Then I want to concatenate with the pay period. But, oh, and here I'm going to create a name. So I'm going to give this a name. I think it's pay period, correct. So let's give this a name here, pay period. Enter. I named that cell pay period. So if I come here, delete that, and now point to there, it recognizes the cell name, enter. But I had something, oh, and I did the backslash before that. Year concatenated with backslash to get a folder separator there. But remember, we added that thing to the before the year to our folder names. So I need the year first. Okay, that's an easy one. So before I want to add the year again, okay, backslash. And then I want to add a slash, a dash, okay. And then I want the month corresponding to the pay period with 2 digits. Okay. Let's do that separately, and then we'll come back to here. How do I find the month to that pay period? I need to come to, I'll use index. I could use XLOOKUP or other formulas, but I'm going to use index and match. So I need to index the month column, not there, the month column. And in this column, I want to find the row. So what's the row number? For that, I need to match. Match what? Match what I have in the selected in the pay period cell, comma, within the pay periods column, comma, and I want an exact match, so 0 or false, 0 there, and close the match, close the index. Okay, so if I do this, it gives me the value 3. 3 is the month for this pay period. If I select May, it gives me 5. It's the month for that pay period. But remember, we want this to have 2 digits. So I want to put all this function here inside the text function and say whatever it generates, the result of this, I want it to have 2 digits. So 0, 0 between double quotes. So now I have a text string, it aligned to the left, 0, 5. Okay, so this is generating what I need to put here before the pay period name. So I'm going to copy this formula here. I'll come here. So I have the year dash and then concatenate with all these that I just wrote, and then concatenate again with underscore. That was how we named our folders, and then concatenate with pay period. Enter. Okay, so finally I can delete this. I don't need it anymore. So let's check if this is using the correct, it's not here, if this is using the correct folder structure. So I have 2023 selected here. If I come here and I have May 1 to 15, May 1 to 15, May 1 to 15 is this one. So this here needs to be the same as there. Okay. And it's looking good. Okay. So now I had all this trouble once, but the formula is created. We can create, for example, here, Alt Enter and separate these with different lines in the formula bar if you prefer. Okay, this one will be the last one. You can divide these the way that suits you best to understand the formula. And that formula now just allows us to come here and switch, and everything updates there correctly. And what I'll do is I will name this cell as pay period folder. So this is the pay period, and this will be the pay period folder. Let's name this cell pay period folder. Enter. And now I will use this name. I will refer to this name to let Power Query know the folder where it needs to look for the files and bring the information. Okay, that will be the next step that we will be doing the next class. Okay, that's it. It was a 1 hour, 1 hour and a half class. And I thought it would be shorter because it was just about creating one creating one macro, but I ended up explaining everything so detailed that it was a long class. I hope it was useful for you. For those of you who are not used to create macros, maybe it was useful, but please let me know there in the comments. Was it useful? Was it difficult? Was it boring? Let me know. Let me know so that I know I can adjust my classes the next time and make it better each time for you. Okay, so that we don't waste time unnecessarily, and I can provide you with value without spending so much of your time. Okay. Let me see if I have any comments here. Nuno says that content to absorb, useful and important content to absorb, that he will want to review the classes. Thank you, Nuno. Need to review it again. Okay. Yeah, it does. To give you time to practice along with me, it will be even longer. So I guess that would have to be on another environment, maybe on a exclusive class environment. Maybe when I have my course up, we will be able to do that. Or maybe not, or maybe you just prefer me to run through the content and then you take your time at your pace to review whatever you need. Okay, so let me know what your preference is, and let me know. I really need to know and to make this better and useful for you, more useful for you. So if you want to homework, and if you created the timesheets the last time, from the yesterday's class, what you can do for tomorrow is to imagine you are different employees filling in a timesheet for, let's say, March, the first and the second pay periods of March. Create several employee names and several employee timesheets and save them in the folder 2021 and those two pay periods, maybe 2, 3, 4 timesheets for each one of the months, each one of the pay periods, so that tomorrow when we are practicing with Power Query, you have, if you are following along with me tomorrow, or maybe then you can do it later after reviewing the class, so that you have data to work with and practice, okay, and see if Power Query is working properly or not. Okay, so that's it for today. Let me know if you have any other comments. I'm going to very quickly repeat my Telegram channel address there in the comments in case you have missed it. I'm going to also place the link for the newsletter that I am sending once a month with information about stuff that I'm doing, writing blog posts sometimes, participating in other YouTube channels, or and also news about Excel, some new features or something that shows up. I will be giving notice of that in the timesheet, in the newsletter as well. Okay, so this is the address to subscribe the newsletter, and and Claudia is also asking if I'll put the code in the Telegram. Thank you for reminding me. I'll be putting the VBA code there, okay, just right after this I turn off the video, the session. Thank you so much. I hope it was useful for you. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye now. Have a good night or a good day.